Hi, welcome. Simon here, and hope you're doing well. In this video, I'll be replacing a MacBook Pro screen, a full assembly, the entire top cover. If you're getting the black screen just like me, the computer is turned on. As you can see that the caps lock can be on and off. There's a light on the caps lock. And my touch bar was working, but now I think it went into the recovery mode. I'm not able to see anything on the touch bar. But I was able to plug it into the external monitor using a USB-C, and I was getting display on the external monitor, but my laptop screen here is just black. There's no display. I did try to increase the ambient light, the LCD screen light, but that was not the case. Alright, so what I'm going to do is to make sure the caps lock is on, like such. Okay, I'm going to press and hold the power button until the caps lock light goes off. That also tells me that the computer is being forced and it completely shut down. Remove the DC jack, the charging port, the USB-C, and let's go ahead and take a look at the model here just to verify that we are working at the same model. Take a look at the back of your laptop. You should be able to identify as model A2251 MacBook Pro. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you need to use would be the Pentalope P5. This is a little star screwdriver, and I think it's 1.2. That's the size of it. Pentalope P5. Now remove the 2 screws, and then 4 screws at the bottom. You want to pay attention to the screws. They are not the same, so do not mix match those screws. Okay, once you have removed the 4 screws at the bottom, the next step is to go ahead and try to open up the back cover here slightly. I'm using a metal prying tool to kind of help me to lift it up quite easily, just like that. Okay, now if you notice that the middle part of the laptop, the center, there's no screw here, it is because there's a clipper that is clipping on down the side of it. So what you want to do is separate them and pop it open. You can hear that little pop. So that is for the right side, and you want to do the same on the left side. Okay, once you have popped it open, the back cover has to be slide down towards your body to remove it. So I'll be sliding this down towards my body like such, and now I can open it up. Okay, let me refer to that. That is the clipper I was referring to, that the clipper is clipped onto the side. You need to pop it open, and then this is the sliding part where it slide into the top. So to remove it, you need to slide it out. Okay, once you have removed that, the next thing is to disconnect the battery. Go ahead and make sure that you remove this little plastic cover. I'll be zooming in a little bit, at least you guys can take a look at the computer very details. Fix my gloves. Alright, so here comes that little plastic. You need to expose the plastic, gently peel it back to the back, slightly little, and there is a little clipper here which you need to open it up. So flip it up, that little clipper, the black clipper, flip it up and slide that cable to your right to remove it. Okay, once you have disconnected that part of it, the next step is to get yourself a Pentalope, a Torx T5. I'll remove that screw. This is the Torx T5, and then remove that little screw, and this metal bracket I just gently tilt it a little bit, because to disconnect the battery, once you remove the screw, there's no connection in between the metal. Move on to the next step. I'll be using a T4 just because my screw has worn out. My tip of the screw I've been using a lot on the repair, so I think it's slightly worn out. So I'll be using a T4 on a T3 screws. So if you're using a brand new screwdriver, you might want to use a T T3, Torx 3. Okay, I'm just using a T4 for my purpose. Go ahead and remove the screws on the top left corner. Now before you remove the screws, what I recommend you to do is to take a picture of your computer. All right, so and go ahead and print it out, so that as you remove the screws, you can lay it on top that printout picture, so you know where the screw is going to end up at the end of the repair. You know how to put them back in together. Okay, so remove the 2 screws on both sides of the hinge and move on to the next step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws here at the bottom. Okay, 1, 2, just remove. This is the 3rd and the 4th. Using a T3. And then making sure that this metal bracket, you're going to put it on the side. You're going to reuse that back again later on. Okay, that is the 5th and the 6th screws that we remove. Moving on to the next step, I'll be using a T5. This is a T5 screwdriver. I'll be removing 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 4 screws are holding down to the LCD board. And then that 1 special screw here for your Wi-Fi antenna. Go ahead and remove that. Now to disconnect the Wi-Fi, you simply just lift the connector up. Lift it up because the connector is just a circle that they kind of sitting on top of each other. So you lift it up and to remove it. And that 1 little screw that we're going to remove for your Wi-Fi. Now coming back here, you need to remove these 2 screws. That is the LCD screen connector, and it's covered by a metal back plate. So remove the 2 screws using a T3. Remove that back cover. And then use a plastic prying tool to disconnect the connector. The connector, just like Lego, they snap onto it. To remove, just simply lift it straight up. Once you're done with the process, you should be able to see the LCD screen board is free and it's easy to be removed. Okay, come back to the next process. What you need to have is a Pentalope P2 0.8. Okay, that is the Pentalope P2 a little star 0.8 pentagonal. I do not know why they call that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on one side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the second side. Okay, go ahead and remove them. You want to be very careful when you remove the Wi-Fi antenna screws, because the Wi-Fi antenna screws are really tiny. They're very easy to get stripped. So make sure you have the right tools. Make sure you have the right grip when you turn it confidently and not to tilt the angle on your screw to strip it. But for whatever reason that you strip your screw, you don't have to get panicked, because I make a separate video on how to remove that strip screw. So go ahead and check it out. I have a separate video for that, and I'll link it down in the description below. Alright, if you're watching this video and you're not sure where to buy the replacement screen and the tools, go ahead and check the description down below. I'll link it down and I'll direct you to either Amazon or eBay, where you can find a replacement screen as well as the tools for this repair. Okay, go check the link down description below. Once you have done with that process, now we can remove the Wi-Fi antenna. And what you want to pay attention to, just gonna flip it up. And here is where you're gonna slide it out. You see that little Wi-Fi antenna? It's gonna slide through the heatsink. So you're gonna slide it away from your body. The little 3 wires are going underneath the heatsink and slide it out to that direction. Okay. Once you have done with that process, get yourself a T8 screwdriver. This is the Torx T8. We are going to remove 3 screws on the side of the hinge, 1, 2, 3, and the left 1, 2, 3. Okay, once I've removed the 3 screws, come back here and remove the other 3 screws. Once you have removed all the 6 screws in total, let's go ahead and open up the LCD screen. I'm pushing all the way back. And then here I want to slide that connector out, just like so. Okay, you're going to slide that hinge out just like that. And then do the same on the other side. Slide it out. And just remove the entire screen. Okay, once you have removed the screen, I'll show you my replacement screen here. Here comes the replacement screen. Seven Puppy is the company that I bought it from using Amazon. If you're interested, check the link. That's where you can get the replacement screen. Okay. You might want to read that little troubleshooting thing that before you, well, after you install it. Okay, that's how the screen looks like. And have some plastic you need to peel. But the first thing I like to do is to make sure that the hinge is pushed all the way to the back on each side of the hinge. Just make sure it's pushed back. And then the next step is to go ahead and remove this little plastic. Okay, once you have done with that process, now we're going to install. You want to make sure that the LCD board is free and sitting on top of the laptop. Sitting on top of it, okay? So now what we can do is to make sure we align. Making sure all the wires, the cables, the LCD board is sitting on top of the laptop. Now the hinge is open. And then all we have to do is to slide it back in. And then do the same on the other side. So once you have both of the hinge is installed on one side and the second part of it, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have to screw and put one screw in it so that we can close the screen and continue repairing the rest of it. Okay, I'm having this one screw. I'm screwing it down and then making sure that the LCD board cable is loose, meaning that they are not clipped or or pinch down, making sure that the cables are not pinched down. Okay, and then on the other end, get the screw and close the hinge. Okay, once you have the board of the hinge, the screw installed, now you close the screen. Now you can actually work when the screen is closed. Double checking the LCD board and the 2 flex cables is good, and then finish up the rest of the screws on the hinge. On the right side, I'm gonna put 2 more screws back in. And then I'm going to come here and put the other 2 screws on the left hinge. Alright, once I've done with that process, now we want to put the Wi-Fi antenna back in it, making sure that these 3 cables and the metal piece you're paying attention to, you're going to slide it down underneath that metal bracket and underneath the heatsink as well. Okay, when you start seeing that the cable is coming out on the other side of the heatsink, what you want to do is just making sure that it goes above the motherboard, because the connector has to be on top of the motherboard. I'm using a little tweezer to kind of guide and help the connector to go back on top. For some reason they're pointing, oops. Let me try again. The third Wi-Fi cable is quite annoying. Okay, now I have all the 3 cables sitting on top of the motherboard. I'm just going to make sure I have the metal piece. That metal piece should be sitting on top of the motherboard as well. Today is not my lucky day, seems like, because it's having quite a bit of difficulties to get things on top of it. Usually I have them installed quite easily. So I'm looking for this metal piece where the screw is going to go on top of that. Has to be on top of the motherboard. Come on. Okay, finally the thing is on top. So the metal bracket is sitting on top of the motherboard. Okay, so that is the ultimate goal, and the 3 wires are sitting on top of the motherboard as well. Now the next step is to make sure that you align the one in the middle right here and then press it down. This is where the main Wi-Fi antenna sits on top. Go press it down. Okay, once you are done with that process, we can move on to the next step. Let's go ahead and put the screws back together. I'm using a Pentalope P2. This is a Pentalope P2, the 0.8 little 5-star shape. I like to put one on each side for now, just to kind of screw in the Wi-Fi antenna, and then test the screen, making sure the screen works before I put the rest of it back together. But if you're confident with the repair, you can put everything back together. I am confident with my repair, but I just wanted to make sure that making sure that the screen works. Okay. Okay, once I have that installed, you should put all the screws back together, but I'm just putting it just to hold it down for now. And then the next step is to make sure that the LCD connector is open and going to be on top of the board. And I'm going to push this thing down. And remember the 4 screws using a Pentalope, using a Torx T5. So this is Torx T5. The 4 screws should go back in. Holding down the LCD board. Okay, once you have that 4 screws installed, the next step, you want to fold this thing backwards. So right now it's open like this, and what you want to do is tuck it underneath. So fold it underneath and go back in. So we're going to fold this backwards and then tuck it in. Okay, just like that. Again, I'm going to show it to you. So fold it back. Okay, fold it back in and then tuck it in underneath that metal bracket. Once you've done with that process, using a T3, you're going to put the screws back together. So there's 1 screw here. Here comes the second screw. The third screw. And the fourth screw. Okay, remember the LCD connector. So what you want to do is you want to align them in a position and then press it down gently. Just think about they're like Lego. Once you align them in the very position, when you press it in, it should automatically goes in very easily. Okay, have the screws go back. The second one. Here comes the bracket that's holding down on the other side of the cable. Have the screw go back in it. Okay. Once you're done with that process, we're going to work on the Wi-Fi antenna. The longest Wi-Fi cable would go at the very bottom. And again, do not force it in. All you have to do is just align them in a very nice position on top of each other. When you press the connector down, it should just be very easy to push it in. It's almost no force to get the connector back together. You almost do not need to put any force, just a gentle push and the connector should sit back on top. So all you have to do, the goal is to make sure align the connector properly. I'm having difficulty on the very last one. It's always the last cable is the difficult cable. Do not forget your screw for the Wi-Fi. So go ahead and put that thing back. Move some of the okay, all three cables are in. I'm gonna rush it and put the rest of the screw for the Wi-Fi antenna so that I don't have to come back and do the rest. You don't have to tighten it real tight. As long as it's good, that's good enough. If you miss one or two screws, that's fine. I don't think you need all the six screw for the Wi-Fi. I think this is ridiculous. First of all, the screw is so small. Okay, once you have installed all that, do not forget this little plastic that cover up the hinge using a T3. Okay, once we have done with that, 2 screws on both of the side. Now let's go ahead and have the screw go back in on top of this using a T5. And then you want to make sure that the clipper is open, and then the cable, you're going to slide it to your left. Okay, making sure that you can see just a tiny little go. If you push all the way in, you should be able to see just a tiny little bit, and then close the connector down to secure and fasten that connector, and then close that little tape. Once you're done with that process, the next step, what you want to do is you want to slide the back cover back in. So you're going to align them in a position like such, and then slide it in to install, because the thing has to slide back in there. Press the clipper, remember, on both sides to clip it in. Have your screw, a Pentalope P5 to screw it in. Pentalope P5, put the screws back in. Since you watch all the way to the end of the video, what I'd like to share with you, to turn on the computer, you have to plug in the charger to turn it on. Without the charger, for the very first time, you might have some difficulty to turn it on, but if the charger is plugged in, then it's a lot easier to turn it on. Just only for that one time. I think because we disconnect the battery for a while, so the computer might think that it lost its memory or something like that. So just plug the charger in when you want to turn it on to test out your screen. Okay, again, just a quick reminder, if you're not sure where to buy the replacement screen from, go ahead and check the link down in the description below. I'll link it down in the description. And then if you do find this video is helpful, please go ahead and smash the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please feel free to subscribe to the channel as well. Okay, so the computer is turned on. As you can see, the Apple screen is on. I can see that the caps lock light is on. Okay, and hopefully bring me to the login screen rather than the recovery mode. I just want to make sure that I'm not showing any customer pictures and whatnot in here. Yeah, you can see that it went straight to the recovery mode. That is the reason why the touch bar has no icons yet, no lighting. But once you get out of the recovery mode, you should be able to get back to the normal screen. Okay, resetting the password. I do not need a reset password. All you have to do is to go onto the top left corner, click on the Apple icon, and you click restart. Okay, when you see the reset password mode, the recovery mode, go to the top left corner, click on the Apple icon and click restart. The computer should be restart with the sound of the Apple turning on, and it should boot you straight to the login screen. And again, if you find this video is helpful, please, as you can see that I'm already in the login screen. If you do find this video is helpful, or I'm asking you to smash the like button for me. If you want to show appreciation, you can click on the YouTube Super Thanks. YouTube Super Thanks allow you to do some kind of donation and show your appreciation and support the channel. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye now.